Greetings, friends, and welcome to Enigma Night Gaming. My name is Liara, and I will be your guide in today's adventure. Today, we are playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and in our last episode, well, the courtroom went out with a bang. There was smoke and who knows what else. Who set it off, and what's going to happen now? Let's go ahead and jump in and find out, shall we? 18th February, 12:52 p.m., the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. What on earth just happened in there?
Mr. Naruhodo, I've managed to find out what happened.
Mrs. Sato?
I was told it was an advanced form of smoke grenade, a type of exploding device that releases smoke.
Smoke grenade? It sounds like the sort of thing ninjas use.
They're just making sure everything is safe now. I think the trial will start again before long.
But who would have done something like that?
The police managed to catch someone who was trying to flee the courtroom, apparently.
Flee the courtroom? Why?
Well, it's a young girl of around 15, I hear.
A young girl? Then could it be the other passenger that Mr. McGilded was just talking about?
My thoughts exactly.
So he wasn't lying. Oh, what's become of Mr. McGilded, actually? There are so many things I need to ask him about, but he's not here.
I think he was summoned to the prosecutor's antechamber to answer questions, along with the young girl.
Who is she, I wonder? What was she even doing here at the trial? She was taking a huge risk, and for what possible benefit to herself?
There's another matter that's troubling me.
What's that?
The 20 pence.
Oh, alright, what is it?
According to the coachman, Mr. Beppo...
Maybe she didn't pay.
He took 4 passengers that night at a fare of 5 pence each. And that comes to a total of 20 pence exactly. But now it seems there were in fact 5 passengers, which means the figures don't seem to add up again.
She's right. That is strange. Counsel for the defense, kindly proceed into the courtroom. The trial will recommence in 5 minutes. Oh, thank you, officer. We'll go in straight away.
Well, whoever she is, I imagine this young girl will be asked to take the stand and testify now. I really can't imagine what she's going to say, but it could alter the whole direction of the trial.
Well, soon enough, Mrs. Sato.
Yes.
All right. So who is it? Let's see. February, 1 p.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. She looks mighty familiar. There's the young girl next to Mr. McGilded. Look. She must have been the one who caused the disturbance before. Well, after that rather eventful recess, the court will now resume the trial of Mr. Magnus McGilded. Now then, Lord Van Zeeks. My lord. I believe you have established the cause of the smoke which veiled proceedings earlier.
It seems to have been an advanced form of smoke grenade, of the sort typically employed by the army.
Good gracious, the army? What in the devil's name?
It was an elaborate attempt by a young girl to pull off her escape from the public gallery, but she was caught, and now occupies the stand.
Your name, girl? Are you responsible for the smoke grenade which induced such pandemonium here in my courtroom? She's not talking. What is the meaning of this deplorable behavior? Ahem, if I may, my lord. Yes, Mr. McGilded. I think perhaps I ought to explain here why it is that this wee lass was here in the first place. And why she tried to bolt like that? 'Tis all tied up with the events of that night, so it is. Very well, Mr. McGilded, give your testimony. You will explain to the court how this young woman is involved in the case. Just what did happen that night? It's not like a defense lawyer needs that information or anything. I mean, not at all. Why would a defense lawyer need to know what happened? Goodness. Silly. Alright, the young girl. On the night in question, I took the back seat in the omnibus and promptly nodded off. Then begorra, a loud thud and a wee scream woke me up with a fair start. There was a fella collapsed on the floor at me feet, so I sat him up on the seat across from me. And then I turned to find out where that scream had come from, and bless my soul, what did I find? There was a child in there, all curled up in a ball, hiding her wee self away. Curled up where? I remained somewhat baffled, I confess. But from what I gather on the night in question, the young girl was indeed riding in the omnibus, is that correct? It is exactly as the defense counsel said. This lass was the 5th passenger, my lord. But was she a stowaway? Is that why the numbers don't add up? Very well. The defense may now cross-examine the witness. Are you ready, counsel? Yes, my lord. Or rather, no? I have no idea where to start. Alright, but we're going to go anyways. On the night in question, I took the back seat in the omnibus and promptly nodded off. Hold it! And when you first got onto the omnibus, were there any other passengers already on board? There were not. The cabin was empty, and there was none on the roof deck either. You were the first passenger, as it were. I see. Aye, and that's why I took the back side as I did. 'Tis the most comfortable, so it is. Could you explain exactly what you mean by the back seat? By all means, 'tis how you already described it earlier. I'm talking about the seat opposite the one in which the poor gentleman who was stabbed was sitting. Like I said, 'tis the most comfortable and where I feel most at ease. And of course, I enjoy gazing through the skylight from time to time as well. Are you actually guilty, sir? Because I thought they said that seat wasn't comfortable. Then, begorra, a loud thud and a wee scream woke me up with a fair start. Hold it! A loud thud, you say, and a scream? Aye, that's right. How can I explain it? 'Tis like the sound of someone falling to the ground. That sort of noise. So you think it was the sound of Mr. Mason falling to the floor, having been stabbed? Well, now, you'll remember I was asleep at the time, so I wouldn't like to say. And when the sound woke me, I opened my eyes. And there wasn't a soul to be seen in the carriage but the fella on the floor. You didn't see anyone? But at the same moment, you did hear a scream. Ah, from the seats above you on the roof deck, I presume? Not above me, no, my lord. 'Twas from inside the cabin. But I wasn't altogether thinking about the scream. No, I was too stunned by the desperate sight before me eyes. There was a fellow collapsed on the floor at me feet, so I sat him up on the seat across from me. Hold it! You sat him up? The victim, you mean? That I did, on the seat across from me, as I said. I could plainly see the poor devil was already gone. And you wouldn't leave a dead man just lying on the floor, now would you? It is common courtesy, so it is. I find that a little hard to believe. Ah, Lord Van Zeek, now why would that be? You wake to find a man lying dead at your feet in a carriage. Any normal person would hail the cabman. Any upstanding member of London society, that is. Well, now, as you know, I'm in something of a special line of business. The business of lending money at exorbitant rates of interest. Unfortunately, my lord, not everyone is thankful for the help I offer them, and some would even see me dead. So I do try, where at all possible, to avoid getting myself in a tangle with trouble. Are you suggesting you were just going to leave the man there? Heavens alive, no. I was always intending to report it, so I was. Only, I had a mind to find out the whys and wherefores first. The whys and wherefores. Right you are. There are some details I wanted to understand before anyone else got to meddling. The wee scream I heard, for example. Wouldn't your good self do just the same? Yes, the scream he says he heard at the same time as the thud of the victim collapsing. Right. Then I turned to find out where that scream had come from, and bless my soul, what did I find?
Hold it!
I'm afraid I don't understand. I'm sure you told the court that there was no one else in the carriage except yourself and the victim. So I did, sir, so I did. As far as I could see, that is. What do you mean by that? Well, now, 'tis a clear thing, the wee scream I heard as I woke up. It came from, if you'll excuse the vulgar expression, under me backside. The seat, the storage area. Good gracious! Under your backside? And when I lifted the seat on which I'd been sitting, I found there was a wee cubbyhole there for storage.
Mr. Naruhodo, we can examine the omnibus ourselves, remember?
Yes, of course. The whole bus was submitted as evidence.
This would be a very good time to have a thorough look around inside.
And that's when I found her. There was a child in there, all curled up in a ball, hiding her wee self.
Hold it!
You say she was hiding herself. Aye, that's right. It was hard to see in the dim lamplight, but she was all curled up in a wee ball. When our eyes met, well, my heart nearly stopped beating in my chest. You're really overacting this. Still and all, I pulled her out from under there and sat her on the seat opposite so I could have a wee chinwag with her. The seat opposite? That's right, just next to the dead gentleman there. You sat this young girl next to a corpse, sir? Well, as I'm sure I mentioned, a gentleman in my position can also often find himself in mortal danger. So I needed to find out just who this urchin was, you see. And while I was in the middle of talking with her, I heard another scream. A fellow's voice this time. Presumably that scream was Mr. First, who was sitting on the roof deck seats. Right you are again, I would say, sir. Looking down through the skylight, he must have seen this young girl and the gentleman with the knife in his belly. In other words, the previous witnesses did not in fact see you at all, Mr. McGilden. What they believed to be yourself and the victim was in fact this girl and the late Mr. Mason. Aye, my lord. I was, as I think everyone understands now, sat at the back of the carriage out of sight. Interesting. It is certainly plausible. The defendant is somewhat diminutive in stature, and readily confused, perhaps, with this young girl. After that, of course, with the scream from the gentleman over us, the driver realized something was wrong and put up the horses. Thank you. I've heard enough. The events as explained are clear in my mind. However, at least one conundrum remains. Who is the girl? She still hasn't spoken. Her name is Gina Lestrade, my lord. She's a chancer, earns her crust among large crowds, relieving people of their purses. What's commonly called a pickpocket. What? This girl here? A petty thief? I mean, she has the looks of it, right? Order! Order! Is this true, Miss Lestrade? Miss Lestrade, you will answer the question. How dare you? What is the meaning of this? The girl, she's gone. Open your eyes. Oh, okay. I'm over here. Good gracious, how? What's the point in that little sidestep? I know what you lot are thinking. Grown-ups are all the same. This dirty little dipper, you'll say, slipped up and got caught on the job. She got herself backed into a corner, so she knifed the gent. Go on, that's what's in your heads, ain't it? No, not at all. This is a court of law. We're here to determine the truth, not cast. Look, knives are for cowards. Only thugs use weapons like that. All I need for what I do is these fingers. I'm a professional, alright? Maybe not in your eyes, but I got pride in what I do. Let me guess. You don't count smoke guns among weapons for thugs?
Oh, this? Yes. This was in a bag I lifted the other day. Down where they keep the four-wheel drags. It's nice, isn't it? I like the pink best.
Oh, do not wave that thing in my direction again. Hey, your pup's back, my guy. So, you admit that you were riding the omnibus on the night in question. She has disdain for him. It's all right, lass. You can tell him the truth now. All right, yeah. It's just like the Irishman said. The court accepts this girl, Miss Gina Lestrade, as a valid and significant witness in this case. Accordingly, then, young lady, we will now hear your testimony, if you please. You will tell the court exactly what happened on the omnibus in the night in question. All right, if I have to. Alright, let's see what she has to say. This should be interesting. What the girl saw. So I snuck into the carriage before they hooked up the horses, just like always. But it was right old waste of time. I got nothing to show for me troubles that night. I tell ya, you can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's pitch in there. Then after a while, I hear this lad beg, nearly jumped out of me skin, I did, and the screen just came out. It's because of that this swell found me. He did help me get away, mind. Okay. Yes, he let you go. I fail to understand why you would let this street urchin go, Mr. McGilded. Oh, 'tis the simplicity itself, my lord. You see, she couldn't possibly have killed the other passenger. I knew that for a fact. How? As I'm sure I said before, sir. Let's see. I was sitting right on top of the place where she was hiding herself. I think a demonstration is called for. Alright. This is where I was sat that night. And the cubbyhole which you have spoken is underneath this seat, I presume. Yes, it does appear just large enough to accommodate someone of the girl's stature. Aye, but of course the wee lass was stuck in there, because I'd parked myself on the seat for the duration. Ah, so you see, that's why I let the lass bolt. I knew that if the police found her there, they'd automatically assume she'd done it. But I couldn't live with myself if a young life was ruined when all the time I knew she was innocent. Even though you must have realized your action would result in your own innocence being called into question. But it was included in their investigation. Yeah, and it was full of stuff she couldn't have fit in there, which is suspicious. The compartment under the posterior seat was full of the coachman's belongings. It's noted in black and white here in the police report. Good Lord! The evidence has been tampered with. In order to corroborate Mr. McGildy's story, someone has unlawfully removed everything from under the seat. We saw it in there earlier, so... it must have happened during the smoke bombing, right? Order! Order! I want to look at the court record right now. Because yeah, it was there earlier. Alright. Let's get in there and look. Because now I'm curious. Alright, can we open this? The seat has a handle, it seems. And it is empty now. This is a storage compartment, but there's nothing in here. It's totally empty. Something doesn't seem right here, but I can't put my finger on what it is. Yeah, somebody took the belongings since we examined it earlier before the smoke bomb. How could such a devious contrivance possibly have been effected, Counsel? Naturally, we must acknowledge the deficiencies of the constabulary in allowing this to have happened. However, I assure you, when the omnibus was wheeled into the courtroom this morning, the compartment under the seat was not empty. I agree, we saw that ourselves. Well, my Nipponese friend... Me? When the carriage was submitted as evidence, doubtless you examined it in fine detail, as would any self-respecting practitioner of the law. Pray, what did you find the condition of the underseat compartment to be? Oh, to be sure, the young gentleman will be able to clear this up in a jiffy. Sorry? Go ahead, you tell the court now, fella. How this is all an elaborate excuse by the desperate Lord Van Zeeks. No, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna say that we saw stuff in there. Well, Counsel, do you have something to say on this matter? How am I supposed to answer? What can I say about the state of that little compartment under the seat in the omnibus? It wasn't empty. I really don't know if giving this answer is helping my cause as counsel for the defense. But as far as I remember, at least, when I first examined the compartment, I'm fairly certain there were a number of articles inside it, yes. Are you sure, Counsel? I'll be whist. What are you saying now, you daft doll? I thought you were on my side here. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, if you did something dishonest, that's on you. What game are you playing? Your task is to defend the man in the stand. Why would you say something to compromise his position? I'm not gonna lie. I mean, that's y'all. Something weird is going on. As the advocate for the defense in this trial, I confess I'm still not entirely sure where I stand. But it seems to me that I should state what facts I do know as clearly and honestly as possible. Yes? Interesting. It is not altogether pleasing, fella. I'm simply telling the truth, Mr. McGilden. Well, I don't forget that you're supposed to be representing my best interest here, lad. Now then. A fella's memory is a curious thing and not altogether reliable. Now, no, the courts must consider the facts. That there cubby hole under the seat is as empty as the devil's heart, so it is. Do you think perhaps it would be in your best interest now to admit you might have been mistaken? No. Why do I feel like something's not right here? I should like the jury to weigh in on this matter, I think. He's taking a drink. That compartment is designed to house equipment used to maintain the smooth running of the carriage. The Guild's rules state the omnibuses should be properly and fully equipped at all times. So it certainly wouldn't have been empty on the night in question. Beppo isn't that irresponsible. That money-lending fleecer and the pig purse are lying. I mean, he is. Why, I don't know, but he is. I can't believe I was nearly taken in. The stinking rich are always stinkers, but cowards, the lot of them. What? Oh no. It's a trick, of course it's a trick. Oh boy. Quite so, I must concur here. They're all just gonna go to guilty. With calm, calculated reasoning, one arrives clearly at the truth every time. Yes, but every time a different truth, it seems. Alright. My lord, I humbly exhibit the scales of justice. Clearly, a verdict of not guilty at this time would be wholly inappropriate. Thank you, counsel. But before we proceed any further, there is the matter of the outstanding cross-examination. Alright, here we go. Counsel for the defense, begin your questioning of the witnesses, please. Yes, my lord. What just happened? The whole balance of the trial just shifted almost beyond recognition. The Reaper of the Bailey is at work, it would seem. Alright, so here we go, cross-examining. So let's do this. So I snuck inside the carriage before they opened the horses, just like always. Hold it! Let's ask her about that. I forgot we were pressing. So you were already in the omnibus before it even set off on its run? Well, yeah, I mean, what's the point of spinning a joy to make a few bob, eh? That's the rum idea, isn't it? I suppose she means there's no point spending money to make money. It actually makes sense. Counsel, may I remind you this girl is a petty thief? Kindly refer from entertaining her tenants. Well, that does clear up the little mystery of the fares and all. 4 paying passengers at 5 pence apiece, making the 20 to which the captain testified. And 1 little scapegrace riding for free. This red conk of a driver always goes for some grub before his last run, see? So that's when I slip into the carriage and get myself hidden under the seats. Nice and easy, right? But your hiding place is a storage compartment, full of equipment for the coach, no? What's she gonna say to that? She's just gonna give him a disdainful look. Yeah, there's brushes and buckets and whatnot in there, sure. I always chuck all that up and cram it in a corner somewhere. No one ever seems to bother much. And yet, according to the report filed by the police officer who first arrived at the scene, the compartment was full of such paraphernalia. Well, I don't know nothing about that. Like I said, I moved all that stuff out so I could hide under the seat. That's all I can tell you. It seems we've reached the end of that line of inquiry. Continue. But it was a right old waste of time. I got nothing to show for me troubles. Hold it! A waste of time? Why is that? Well, most nights I'm on my own in the god permit at least some of the time. I
Beg your pardon. Did you say God permit? Ah, yeah. Well, that's what my kind calls it. You say the omnibus, I suppose. The point is, any normal run, the carriage ain't got no one in it for a while. That's when you come out of your hiding place and get away. That's it. Only that night, this cove was sat on me seat from the start. And he didn't budge the whole way, did he? Not 1 inch. I was totally stuck. Do you mean to tell us you were present in the carriage for the duration? You were under the seats the entire time while events unfolded in the enclosed cabin? Yeah. Right, mister? To be sure. I was as shocked as anyone. You don't expect to lift the cushion you've sat on and find a child now, do you? So this Miss Lestrade couldn't possibly be the culprit then. I'll tell ya, you can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's pitch in there.
Hold it!
So you couldn't see out into the cabin at all? Not a jot. Most days I push the cushion up with me head and look out the crack. And then I can have a butcher's at who I'm gonna fiddle. I thought you were a pickpocket, not a butcher. I mean, I can have a look. The seat I get under ain't as plush as the other one, see? So most of the time the passengers plant themselves opposite. But for some reason that night, this here Irishman spent the whole journey right over me head. For that reason, you weren't able to push the cushion up to peek out, I see. Truth is, I ain't too happy in small dark places. Feels too much like being thrown in the clink. But it's the only place to hide in the carriages, so it's Hobson's choice. Why doesn't she just stick to picking people's pockets in the open then? I'd say there's some reason that she's not letting on, judging from her demeanor. So anyways, I was a bit scared, but I had to just stick it out under there, nothing else for it. Then after a while, I heard a loud bang, nearly jumped out of me skin, I did, and the scream just came out.
Hold it!
Loud bang, what was that? When you say a loud bang, do you mean the noise of someone falling to the floor? Could have been, I suppose. I don't remember so well. Point is, it made me jump. And you let out a scream involuntarily. That's right. And then I felt the cushion over my head get lighter all of a sudden. Presumably when the defendant got up in order to help the victim, yes? Or not. This would equally have been the moment the accused stood up in order to stab his victim, could it not? Well, girl, did you see what happened at that crucial moment? Yeah, I saw it. I pushed up the curtain and had a quick butcher's while I had the chance, didn't I? The Irishman was sitting up the bloke what had fallen on the floor on the seat opposite.
That's not just Mr. McGilda's account, of course.
Then, the fellow suddenly turns around and looks right at me. I sunk back down again, but it was too late by then. I should have never have risked looking. It's because of that the swell found me. He did help me get away, mind.
Hold it!
And when Mr. McGilda discovered you, he pulled you out from your hiding place? I was scared stiff, I was. He dragged me out and sat me down on the seat and all. Next to the victim, Mr. Mason. Yeah, the bloke had a knife in his guts. He was still bleeding. Then the carriage lurched a bit and he ended up falling onto me.
Ugh, how awful.
Both my hands got covered in blood. It made me feel sick as a dog. Both her hands covered in blood. That must be what the rooftop passenger saw. After that, I believe you talked with Mr. McGilda for a while. Is that correct? He asked me some stuff. Wanted to know me name and what I was up to and that. Then I heard something from above. Someone screamed. Yes, Mr. First on the roof deck, one would presume.
Well, I didn't want no one seeing me face, so I didn't look up. Then the horses were drawn up smartish, and this here Irishman says to me, "Get back under the seat. I'll see that you can get away later." Truth is, ain't too happy in small dark places.
Well, now.
Oh, okay. How did I miss that before?
Excuse me.
Something wrong, Mr. McGilded? Oh, I do apologize. Was there something the matter, Counsel? I'm just wondering if Miss Lestrade's last comment made something occur to you, perhaps. You seem to be thinking something to yourself. Oh, no. It was nothing important. I was feeling bad for the poor lass is all. I remember feeling desperate myself as a young lad, shut up in the dark. It was terrifying, so it was. I see. Yes, I'm sure we can all sympathize. I'm still scared of the dark now. Aye, and I don't know about yourself, but I find that the darkness seems to make everything you hear seem that much louder as well. Does it? Yeah. I suppose it does, maybe. Miss Lestrade. Did you hear something that night? Anything? An unusual noise, perhaps? What's she gonna say? Nah, not really. All I could hear was the Irishman snoring. Be jabbers, there's no need to tell the whole world of me foibles, you little scamp.
What a pity. If only Mr. Stott had heard something, it might have given us a vital new clue.
Yes, what should we make of that last statement of hers? It's profoundly important. If he was sleeping, he couldn't be the killer, right? My lord, I believe the statement just made by the witness is profoundly important. Profoundly important, but all she said was that she heard nothing. Yes, which is the profoundly important point. I am almost sure of it. I'm almost sure that I don't understand the inner workings of your Eastern mind, Counsel. Nevertheless, Miss Gina Lestrade, we will supplement your formal testimony by repeating that last statement, please. What? Supplement? What are you on about? Don't give me all your fancy talk. I know what you're trying to do, but it won't work on me. That's right. Insult the judge. Always a good move. Alright. I was straining my ears to work out what was going on, but all I could hear was snoring.
Hold it!
So you were straining to hear what was happening the entire time since the moment you hid yourself? Not exactly, no. Sorry? Well, there was no one in the cabin to start with. Yeah, because he came in later, right? I could just push up the cushion and up and have a butcher's to see what was what. But then when I saw this swell getting on, I got me head down so he didn't notice me. And Mr. McGilded sat on the seat under which you were hiding, correct? Yeah, would you Adam and Eve it, eh? What a mug. So then all I could do was listen. I was waiting to jump out of there as soon as I heard him leave, you see. But would he? Not likely. Even though we stopped here and there, I never heard the door open. So I just had to stay put and listen to him driving his pigs to market, snoring like an old dog he was. Are there any conclusions we can draw from that, I wonder? It doesn't add up. Yeah, it doesn't add up. Something doesn't make sense. Miss Lestrade, what you have just told the court is clearly at odds with the facts. Ah! At odds? Are you sure, man? Absolutely. It seems my learned Nipponese friend is not as dull-witted as I feared. So Van Zeeks realized it too. I mean, if all she... Something's not right. Never heard the door open? But, yeah, somebody... He had to have gotten on. That doesn't make sense, yeah. I must insist that you bolster your claim with evidence, or some complicit party's name at the very least. Yes, my lord. I expect you to demonstrate this alleged contradiction to the court. According to Miss Lestrade, while she was hiding in the omnibus that night, she heard nothing but the sound of Mr. McGilden's snoring. But think, Ryanosuke, think. How did the victim get on then? There's something else she should have heard. Show a person? She should have heard the victim. Very well, my lord. Allow me to elaborate. On a particular sound that Miss Lestrade could not have failed to hear on the night in question. The sound very clearly explained by the presence of the following person. The victim.
Take that!
Right? Thrice fired Mason. Yes, my lord, the sound that Miss Lestrade cannot have failed to hear is that of the victim, Mr. Mason, boarding the omnibus. Exactly. How could she not have heard him get on?
Order! Order! Explain your reasoning, counsel.
Miss Lestrade, allow me to confirm something. You claimed earlier that you were the first person on board the omnibus. Is that correct? Yeah, of course I was. I got on while the driver was in the pub, didn't I? And the next person to board the omnibus was Mr. McGilden. That it was. Not a soul was in the cabin when I climbed aboard. At least, not in plain sight. So you were, to all intents and purposes, alone in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus at that time. Did I not just say as much? I wasn't traveling with anyone else, if that's what you mean. Yeah, saw him get on, remember? Through the crack under the seat cushion? He was on his own for sure. And from what we've heard, the carriage made a number of stops after that on its onward journey. During which time, did you not hear the door opening or closing at all? Nah, I never heard it. That's exactly what I was listening for, weren't it? Well, waiting for this swell to leave? In which case, when and how did the victim end up in the carriage? Was he dropped in from the skylight? I wonder. Maybe that's why there's a big blood stain in the middle of the floor? Because it can't be open from inside, but maybe it can be open from outside. We know that the victim collapsed inside the enclosed cabin of the omnibus. Therefore, Miss Lestrade's statement about what she did or did not hear is at odds with the facts. Or is it? Yes, this petty thief's statement was clearly flawed. Lord Van Zeeks. Yes, he knew. He knew all too well that there was an inconsistency in Miss Lestrade's statement. It would seem words of thanks are in order from my learned friend. What are you talking about? You have demonstrated matters impeccably. This witness and her colorful statements are entirely unreliable. Her words are convenient untruths, nothing more. That's not what we're going for. I think there's something... He's dead right. How could the victim possibly not have boarded the omnibus? That makes no sense whatsoever. And this girl is a pickpocket. Let's not forget that. Grandma's got a ruling. Grandma's ruling guilty. She didn't even say anything. I didn't want to judge the dear little mite just because she had some rather naughty ways. But I must say, I can't abide liars. Neither can I. Mr. Foreman. I didn't want to judge the girl just because she has some less than salubrious ways. But I must say, I cannot abide liars.
You don't know she's a liar.
We've just introduced some evidence. It's just going back and forth one way or the other.
Mr. Naruto, that's 5 jury members leaning towards guilty.
He's pouring himself some more wine. He's going to be totally drunk by the end of the trial.
Well, your consideration for others is refreshing, my Nippody's friend. To the considerable troubles you have spared me.
Taking a sip of his blood.
Yes, very refreshing.
What are you playing at? Have you forgotten who you're working for, you useless Eastern Amadan? This is carnage. It's perfect.
Juror number 2 is the only one left. Mr. Naruto, the way this is going...
I know. If we can't find some way to convince everyone of Mr. McGilda's innocence, the judge will rule and we'll have lost. Is she going to consider?
I very much wanted to believe the words of one of London's most respected gentlemen. But those of us in service know we must accept hard truths.
Hold it!
Alright. We're not going to let her vote yet. Yes, the witness's last statement seems to have revealed a critical inconsistency in her story. However, if we consider the possibility that her statement is in fact the truth, it may shed an entirely new light on this whole case.
What are you saying?
Counsel.
Sorry, sir. Whatever do you mean?
Counsel, I will not tolerate you attempting to prolong my adjudication. Explain yourself at once.
The accused boarded the omnibus on the night in question. The victim was nowhere to be seen. Subsequently, the carriage door was not heard opening a single time, as testified by the witness in the stand.
And yet, the victim's body was found inside the carriage.
If this petty thief's words are to be believed, how do you explain the victim's miraculous appearance inside the cabin of the omnibus?
Easy! Skylight! Alright, can we point it out on the omnibus? There's only one way to explain how the victim came to be inside the carriage. There's another entrance. If the door wasn't opened even once, then the only explanation is that the victim entered the enclosed cabin some other way.
Objection!
Right? I wonder what new fantasy you would come up with in your blind panic.
But behold, the omnibus is here for all to see.
Only one side of the enclosed cabin is furnished with a door.
The other has only windows, fixed windows which cannot possibly open. In short, there is no entrance to the cabin other than the door.
Objection!
But there is. But there could be. There's one possibility you haven't considered.
Oh, really?
Yes, one other way inside that isn't the door. Another opening, the use of which allowed the victim to appear inside the enclosed cabin. And it would explain the bump everyone's hearing. Alright, counsel, the defense will identify the location for the court. Here is the omnibus on which the incident occurred. Where on earth is this entrance by which you propose the victim entered the cabin? Alright, it's the skylight.
Take that!
The answer is obvious. It could only have been the skylight. I say, the skylight? there you go.
Objection!
Your ludicrous proposal almost has me at a loss for words. However,
Objection!
The skylight may well be large enough for someone to pass through.
Objection!
so you claim. But you have a shred of evidence to support your addle-brained theory.
I mean, can't someone just walk through it and see? Both Mr. McGilded and Miss Lestrade said the same in their testimonies. They each claimed to have heard a loud thud, such as the noise made by someone falling to the floor.
Yes, which has already been explained, as the sound of the victim falling from his seat, having been assaulted with the dagger.
Yes, it has, but would a man slipping from the seat onto the floor really have made such a loud noise as the witnesses describe? I don't think so. A noise loud enough to cause Miss Lestrade to let out an involuntary cry, in fact?
Good gracious!
Perhaps, in fact, that was the moment that the victim made his entrance into the cabin. No, let me rephrase that. The victim didn't enter the cabin as such. He fell into it.
Objection!
You're now suggesting that the victim fell from the skylight into the cabin. That's simply impossible. How can you be so sure? Because if the victim had fallen inside through the skylight, as you say, the passengers on the roof deck would have seen it happen. And yet, not one person made mention of such events in their testimony. Well, yes, that's true, but... Oh, wait! Was he hiding, literally hanging from the skylight, maybe? Might a humble fellow make a wee comment here? Mr. McGilded? To be sure now, the two fellows who were sat on the roof that testified afore said nothing of the victim falling through the skylight. But it seems to me, my lord, that 'tis not so much a case of them not saying, but... Aye? 'Tis a case of them being unable to say. What? I think perhaps the two fellows do be having something of a compelling reason not to mention what happened. Would you not agree, fine ladies and gentlemen of the jury? Huh. Oh my goodness, surely not. These two chaps on the roof? You mean, the ones who stuck the knife in the man were... Alright, let's see. They're back.
Just what exactly are you insinuating here, you blitherer?
You rotter, he said! You rotter! What are you insinuating?
This is a flaming outrage. I've a good mind to give you a blinker in a minute.
I'll give you a shiner in a minute, he said, and so will I. Mr. Fairplay,
You're effectively accusing me, a city gentleman and well-respected banker.
And me, a very angry hatter.
Suggesting that someone like me could have stabbed that man in the guts. It's a disgrace. It's scandalous. I protest in the strongest possible terms.
That's right, I protest too. About you, you rotten scoundrel.
Mr. McGilded is just like, you guys, you're too much. Order! 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 This is not the time, witnesses. I will not permit this wanton invasion of the stand. Return to the anteroom at once. But this is beyond reason, my lord. It's outrageous.
It's very hurtful, you know.
My lord, if I may comment.
Go ahead, Lord Van Zeeks.
It was the defense that incited this outburst from the witnesses. My learned friend has seen fit to abandon all protocol and accuse the witnesses without proof.
Accuse? I never intended to.
It seems, young Nicholas, that your command of the English tongue is wanting. You proposed to this court that the victim fell through the skylight from the roof deck of the omnibus. That hypothesis cannot possibly stand without the rooftop passengers being aware of the events.
You have branded those gentlemen liars. You have intimated their criminal guilt. In our British courts of law, that is what is termed a baseless accusation. I know I was rash to put this idea forward without any actual evidence, but you can't just dismiss it without a second thought. What are we wasting time for? Get them to testify. I thought there was something fishy about that hat from the moment I laid eyes on the fellow. I have to see this matter through now, one way or another.
If there's filth and rubbish in our midst, we must dispose of it at once.
Everyone wants them to testify.
What's happening, Mr. Naraldo?
The spectators in the public gallery they're in a complete frenzy. Mr. Fairplay and Mr. First. My lord? You will take the stand again and make another formal testimony in reference to the indictment brought by the defense. Yes, my lord.
I didn't come here for this.
Mr. McGilda is just like laughing. There's no time to think this through. All I can do is keep pushing forward. Oh boy. But that's going to be in the next episode. So I hope you're enjoying this cliffhanger, but this is where we're going to pause. So, what are our current theories? I don't know exactly. We're going to have to uncover something. Either he was hanging from the skylight and they just didn't notice, or they're actually involved. Somehow they knew him and they were in cahoots to hide the truth, perhaps. I don't know. We'll find out in the next episode. So if you like this kind of content, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. If you want to watch live, we're on Twitch at twitch.tv/TheR27. I have my schedule posted in the about and in the description. And if you want to see which games I'll be playing each day, I post them on twitter.com/TheR27. And I hope you'll join me in the next one. Until then, guys, bye.